The only advice I can give out there is right now, all of us are struggling of how can I reach X number of people? How can I achieve this impact? Climate change, the CO2, there's a really big SDG scale, which is quite scary. You feel like you're lost, you're insignificant in this process, and that's okay. But what if you come just down to your home, to your school, to your neighbor, and yourself? How many people can I reach in my neighbors? Can I reach 2 or 3 people, 10 people, 10 households? Can I change? Can I really have like a clear impact on these people? Even if it's one or schools, is it like a clear measurable impact? Then you are really doing great, because right now most of us have this burden of saying, how can I reach 1,000, 1,000,000 people, 1,000 customers? And then we forget the basics. We forgot the basics, and the basics can remind you, can go back to your first client or your first encounter, or you can ask yourself, why did I begin this business?
So hi everyone, thanks again for joining the Doers Within Us podcast. I continue our series with now our 6th participant from the Builders of Africa's Future within the African Diaspora Network organization. And I've just had an amazing time interviewing all these great entrepreneurs who are making a difference on the African continent. And I'm here with Justine, and Justine Abuga is leading this amazing organization called ECOBORA, which we're going to talk about in a few seconds. And he's based in Kenya, and just read his profile. He's such an amazing entrepreneur that I will let him explain it. Just talk a little bit about himself and the company that he's founded. But just for everyone who has been watching the past 5 episodes of Builders of Africa's Future, we thank you. We appreciate the fact that you want to learn more about these amazing entrepreneurs. And today is also an additional profile and just getting to know the person behind ECOBORA and someone who is making a difference on the African continent. So Justine, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for making time on the pod. I know you're a very busy entrepreneur, so I really appreciate the fact that you made some time today. So thank you so much, and welcome on the pod.
Thank you very much, Jacob, for hosting me. My name is Justine Abuga, as you mentioned, Jacob. I'm based in Kenya. And for me, I'm running my company. It's called ECOBORA. And what we do, we on the green energy space, and we began by providing clean cooking solutions 6 years ago, targeting households in Kenya, because of the gap we saw in that space in terms of accessibility of both the clean cooking technologies and also affordability of these technologies by these very consumers.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's how we began our business. And later, in 2017, come 2018, we pivoted off our model to begin targeting schools, like institutional cooking, because at the very time we discovered like players like schools are using firewood to provide food for the students. In this scenario, students are required to either pay additional tuition fees or bring firewood to school. For us, that was like a turning point. So that's how we began asking ourselves, why don't we have innovations targeting players like schools? So that's the biggest question we asked ourselves, and we began thinking around that subject. We discovered like, of course, being dynamic, being sort of like large-scale cooking facilities, there's less innovations and there's less solutions for such kind of players. And that's how we began offering what we call solar cooking boilers. Yeah, so basically that's what we do. We are a team of 7 people based in Kenya at the moment, and our plan is to grow also out of Eastern Africa to tap into the sub-Saharan African market.
Awesome. No, thanks for going straight into it. Yeah, it was like when I went straight into it, and I think that's a very good market, and it's a place where there's a lot of opportunities there. Just taking a step back, how do you see you want to find opportunity, and you have capitalized on that from a social impact perspective and also from an environmental perspective, right? Solar powered. But prior to that, Justine, can you just please share with us I will get back into this amazing stuff you're doing. Just, where did Justin grow up in Kenya? How was the experience like? If you can just share with us, who your parents were and all other people that were nice enough to support you. Where
Um,
in Kenya did you grow up in, and how was it like?
yeah, I grew up in the western part of Kenya, like that's like 300 miles from the capital, a place called Nyamira. That's where I grew up and I schooled. Yeah, so all of my parents were teachers, so I kind of grew in a place whereby there were systems and processes in place, you know what I mean? Discipline, and so as a person, for me growing up, I was really curious about sciences, interested about sciences, and surprisingly, I wanted to become a doctor when I grew up. And so I went to my high school, and then after finishing high school, I missed one point to go and practice or to go to medical schools, because normally there's a way of being graded for public students, you know what I mean? So whereby you're being paid by the government to study. So I missed that one point, so I could not study medicine. Rather, I chose to study what we call microbiology and biotechnology. It's like a section of medicine, not entirely, but focusing on sciences, something like viruses, bacteria, and creating vaccines and medicines for such like. So I took like a smaller arm from what I want to do. Then while in college, I was quite active. I was playing a lot of basketball and volunteering at charity events. But in my second year with my friends and classmates, we began a charity foundation, which was called Hands for Change Foundation. Wow. So basically, it was a way of us trying to find what to do during the weekend, because we had long weekends in college. So we could really marshal up our resources with friends and classmates, and we could do charity over the weekends and every month. Well, as we kept on doing this, we discovered like in every charity we went to, we could meet with other groups, charity groups, right? But in each of these groups could bring the same thing, like food, clothing, sanitary stuffs, and this was common on books maybe. This was common in every home you go or every weekend. I remember one time we were visiting this home in Nairobi. It's in a slum in Nairobi called Dandora. So during the March, April, that's the rainy seasons in Kenya. So it was raining actually, and we brought food, and surprisingly, they had received food on the previous day from another donation. So the problem was this group could not cook because it was raining. There's no firewood. There's food. They can't cook for themselves. So for our West ourselves, why doesn't anybody donate like gas or firewood or charcoal? Why is not anybody doing such donations? And that's how now we begin asking ourselves, can we begin donating charcoal to these homes? Because it seems everybody's donating clothes.
Exactly.
So that was like the beginning of the turning point in terms of the conversations. And so we the next month in the next event, we found out like no one is willing to come and carry charcoal in the city. Remember, we were students by then, so no one showed up in the charity event in shorts except the leaders. So the things never went the way we expected. Then for me, that was a changing point. So I went online in the college library trying to research, okay, do we have cleaner fuels? Because maybe charcoal is dirty for a group to carry around the city. So we began looking for a clean cooking energy for these students, children's homes. So that's how we began. I began the interest in green energy. So later, I have understanding briquettes is the local food, like the ugali. That's our local delicacy. And so because of that disappointment, we had to, as a person, I had to begin to search, okay, why don't we have a clean, efficient fuel as mentioned in these articles or websites? So that's how I began getting into these pellet and briquette making initially. And then we moved from homes towards selling to communities. away from Nairobi, who were also having a challenge in terms of accessing clean cooking. So that's actually how we began. Until now, we moved towards the solar cooking for schools.
That's amazing. I'll just go back to you said, what city did you grow up in? Mero?
Yeah, maybe I'll text you. I grew up in Nyamira.
Grew up in the
Nyamira, that's like western part of Kenya.
okay.
Nyamira.
Okay, just want to get that clear. That's amazing, and thanks for getting back into ECOBORA. So it sounded like you were an entrepreneur from school, right? You found it, you know, just with your free time, you decided to do something, right? Kind of provide. You build a project, right, to figure out ways to make providing opportunities for others, and this led to ECOBORA just by observation and learning. So it sounded like you had the entrepreneurial mindset. You were able to go out there, try and fail, right? How was it like? And you mentioned a little bit, you know. So once it failed, you know, you had this failure in some way. Like, what was it? What helped you to really get over the hump and say, okay, I need to make sure that whatever I'm doing is aligned with the people's needs or something that we can offer. But I think that's the struggle that some entrepreneurs face, especially in a climate like Kenya, for example, where if something collapses or you see a nonprofit model doesn't work, there is disinterest or people just lose hope. But how were you able to get to a point now that you're based, you know, with the African Diaspora Network and you're building, you're continuing with the company?
Yeah, very interesting question. And honestly, that's like something we are still trying to figure out because customers' needs are always changing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, for us, what we'll be doing in our business is trying to understand our customer as much as possible. Although, as I mentioned, their needs, their aspirations keep on, shifting each and every time. But I think what we've been able to try and bridge that gap is by trying to ensure, like, in every product we're trying to introduce, in every marketing models we're trying to pursue, we're trying to ensure like we have these customers at the heart of those models, at the heart of those innovations.
Okay.
So we try really to have a close relationships with these customers. So it's no longer a transaction, if you may. Like, it's no longer about product and money. It's more of how can we work together to build up this product for you? How can we improve it? Do you want it? What else do you want to include? What can we take off? So I think it's trying to build that a rapport with the customer beyond a sell. And because this will help you, or this is really helping us in this scenario to understand the customers' likes and dislikes of these products, to understand the customers' change in terms of technology and culture, or such kind of green movements, because they can really affect people's thoughts.
Yes.
So we're trying to be like a customer-centric organization. By that I mean, for example, when we go to these schools, of course, people in these villages, they don't have the technical expertise to install and maintain our stores, right? What we do, we try to train them, give them basic trainings, youths and women in these communities to help us with installations. And then after an installation, we hire two people, like one male and one female, from these communities to help us with just basic maintenance of this system in this school. So by we ensuring we're transferring knowledge to these local communities is the first way of ensuring we working with these communities, because it's through such kind of simple acts of involving the communities, you're able to like create a rapport, and through that you're able to learn and able to give you feedback. Because I think you being able to collect feedback is the most important thing you can ever do as a business. The moment you collect more feedback and correct feedback and timely feedback, it helps you to make a decision. So for me, I think that has been one of the best way to try and bridge that gap. And the last way is trying to test and fail. You're testing faster. So for example, in manufacturing, like in the energy space, it takes time to have a product, manufacture, test it, you know what I mean? That's certified. So instead of you being in the lab waiting for X number of years to have a product, have a machine, raise capital, test it, certified before you're going to a consumer, why can't you try we try to run what we call pilots. Maybe before we are certified, we say, hey, this is just a pilot. We don't sell this. We're just trying to select few selected customers for a pilot test. So this allows us to go to customers because it's not a selling. So through you running small pilots and testing the product, you're able now to learn by seeing, by experiential learning from these customers. So I think by having solutions which can be tested faster and are modified faster, also can give you a leverage to be able to understand and bring something forth for the consumers. Because that informs you the price points, that makes you learn about distribution, that makes you learn about licensing of your products, and that even makes you understand your partners or stakeholders in what you're trying to go into. So because you can figure that out, so the better, the faster you come out trying to test, even if you don't have a product, it can be just even a picture. When a question, hey, I think I have this idea. Do you think you can buy this? How much can you buy this? Why can you buy this? You know what I mean? So by just having a smart way to test things out there, will really bridge that gap. And that's how we're trying to keep on finding opportunities in our business, Jacob.
That's incredible. I think, one thing that I think for our listeners, and also something that's really good as a point of reference, even in life, it's like just having a conversation can help you understand what people need or want. Entrepreneurship is a very interesting way to understand people because you want to sell something to them. I really love your approach because we make assumptions a lot, especially Africans in diaspora. We say this is what people need. We see lack of food, lack of water, and we make all these assumptions of what people need. And I think what your approach and how you reach out to your customers is very, very important because you tend to give them the opportunity to explain why this is a problem, what they've been currently doing to survive or to thrive. Sometimes they do well, but how can you come in with your product to kind of enhance their life or make their life a lot more better at a very affordable price, right? And I think that's a very good case study for a lot of entrepreneurs and listeners like me to learn about how you did that. So thanks so much for sharing that. I think that's a very good example of how we should learn to work with the community members. Just so to add to that, who has been the people that do you have co-founders? I had to have done a little bit of research on this. Do you have co-founders at the back end or mentors that help you kind of along the ride? I know entrepreneurship is very lonely and it can be very stressful too. So do you have like people around you that keeps you sharp? You look sharp there. You look like you're having the support that is needed to get the energy that you have to thrive. So any co-founders, mentors that help build?
Yes, for sure, Jacob. And I think part of the process, I think we've been lucky in terms of our business, and I have one co-founder. He's called Brahman. He's an engineer. So that's, again, I'm not an engineer myself. My co-founder is an engineer. So that's, again, part of creating a company. You try as a founder to try and get the best skill set match, which I know is a problem also. So I think having a co-founder who's an engineer, because as you know, as I mentioned, our product's more of an engineer side of it. And for my side, my skill set is business development. Plus from the founding perspective, so that's the skill set we have. But we also have a team of 7 people, permanent people, who are trying to help us in terms of running the business. But in terms of me as a person, I've been lucky to have mentors and programs which have really been helping me in terms of understand business, understand collaborations, and shape sort of my entrepreneurial journey. And I've been having mentors. I've been having 3 months so far. 3 mentors so far in life, and these mentors I've been getting them from programs.
Amazing.
Like recently, like last month, I just finished one amazing program. It's called the Vestavella Foundation Program, the Young Founders Program. We just finished the annual gathering in Berlin. So it's just an event whereby we have like 6 intensive months of online learning through experts and mentors and rigorous screening of entrepreneurs, and the screened. And then you're able to be given a mentor to match your skill sets and your gaps in your business. Then you're able to set milestones, try to achieve those milestones, those 6 6 months. And I think for me, the biggest platform has been, for example, these programs which are normally trying to tailor needs to such people like us. So for me, I've been able to leverage on these programs. So honestly, because I've been able to have personal relationship with these mentors beyond the programs, been able to try and look for partnerships through the networks of these mentors. For example, when I was in Germany for the program, through my mentor, I was able to meet local players, meet local suppliers of solar panels, trying to find, can I find cheaper options for my suppliers? So I think by using these programs and mentors as a gateway, I'm trying to also go to other ecosystems, not only looking for development and the investment capital, but also for supplies and even talent, like international students who were looking for innovative companies like ourselves who want to also in time learn and offer some of their skills. So actually, I think for us as a company, that has been the biggest leverage point we've been trying to use. And I think that has been the biggest factor for at least our growth at the moment. Because this has opened us for an international space. Because, for example, if you go to a program, for example, in Germany, you meet the German ecosystem players, you get their contacts, then you keep on, being their networks, keep on sharing. And then through that, you put to meet somebody, an investor, collaborator, talent, so that's how we've been able to leverage the mentorship and such entrepreneurship programs available for people like us, Jacob.
Thank you so much for sharing. And it sounds like you're a great networker. It's a great skill. It's a great skill to have. Yeah, I just wanted to ask about your Germany experience. And do you speak German? Spreche du Deutsch?
No, the only thing I can tell you, Jacob, I can tell is Guten Morgen, like meaning good morning. So
Guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen, yeah, for good morning. So maybe I should spend more time there. But for my brief stay, it was a really good experience because although you find like there's a lot of differences in terms of development from like German and Kenya, but you're able to learn the differences in terms of processes.
Yes.
That's what I learned actually, which is so keen on German than in Kenya. People are really investing on processes.
Exactly.
It's all about the end. It's all about how do we get to the end. You know what I mean? That was the first big learning. And the other learning is I discovered like most entrepreneurs, like for example, the ecosystem in Europe and Germany, people are investing in research and development a lot. There's a lot in time and money which goes to research and development. Then, for example, in my ecosystem in Kenya, we don't have such incentives to invest in research and development. That's why you find like 9 out of 10 startups are dying in the first year, like in Kenya. Although we are the biggest ecosystem bringing out innovations, but 9 out of 10 of us don't see our third birthdays in terms of our businesses because we don't have incentives and platforms to earlier on to really invest in research and development of our ideas and our businesses, which can see us through in the third, fourth, fifth year. I think that's what I learned. Like we should try and keep on not only in the early phase of the business, but also as we grow, try to invest in R&D, in the research and development of the business, because this is really like the engine of the car. Because this really defines your innovation, your growth. This can also dictate your pivoting. This dictates your iteration as a product, because it really informs you about the changes, policy-wise, technology-wise, customer-wise. If you don't have such kind of engine checks, you can't take off, Jacob.
Exactly. And it's like, research and development gives you, it takes a lot of money, it takes time, but you go deep, right? It's like you understand, it's not just a runway. It's like you figure out what happens in 30,000 feet, 33,000 feet, then even when you land it. But for us, we just want to take off. We don't care what happens.
And understand, it's really problematic. Trust me, it's very hard doing this. But the way we're trying to do, like ourselves, 2 ways. Number one, maybe you can try to talk to local universities. That's what we're trying to do. Like in Kenya, we have Strathmore Energy. It's like a university in Nairobi. It has some energy section, solar energy. So we're trying to know what they do, attending the events. So through these events, we meet people, energy enthusiasts. So one way entrepreneurs could do, maybe leveraging the local universities, check if there are events in these universities, check if there are research events, is there research capabilities, that's maybe could be a low-hanging fruit. And the other second way maybe somebody can do is trying to look for international students in international universities who are looking for research opportunities like master thesis. A student maybe in Europe or America or Asia, he or she has an amazing idea in some energy or medicine, whatever you feel you are. They don't have a real business or a real customer to test or write them the master thesis. So by you finding international students, you can allow them to come to your business, understand your business, and then from there they can find a problem, and then they can work. You can use your challenge in your business and do a master thesis of your problem or something about your business. Through that, you're able to get feedback from these students. So that's how you're able to. That's how we've been able to leverage on these low-hanging fruits to support our R&D, because we know it's expensive.
Yeah, which is very smart. For the time being, right? I think maybe now you guys have a school that you be training people from across Africa and Asia and America to you come and do some of the work. We're having some glitches over there. And the last section, I'm going to be asking about some inspirational questions, and these questions are based on just some lessons you've learned, and just like, how do you see the future? Energy is a great sector to create the future. And how do you see? I mean, beyond energy, and as yourself, you're a leader too, right? And that's one of the responsibilities that comes with building great companies, especially in an ecosystem like Kenya and Africa as a continent. How do you see yourself as a leader impacting the world beyond energy, but also the young kids and the young Africans that are watching you? People always watch you, you don't know. Especially where you are, that's just your privacy becomes a little bit exposed. But just to start, what has been a life lesson, or has there anything that someone has told you that really changed the way you think of the world, or how you have, or just changed your behavior? You're just like, you know what, from today I'll start doing things differently. Or an event or an experience that has really helped people pivot your way of doing things, if you may. Because I asked this question, if I may, I think each and every person has like an awakening period that you just kind of realize, and sometimes it takes years. It's not like a one-time thing, so they should not be misconstrued. And other times it's just a moment, but there's always that born again phase that you're like, what am I? And it doesn't have to be very grandiose. Oh, I am no, but just like, how can I be of impact in the world and of my society? Did you have any conversation with anybody, or did you have a life experience that made you realize that I can make a change in the world? I can add value, positive value in the world for a long time. And if you may share, that'll be really nice.
Yes, Jacob. Maybe I'll just answer your first question, like the future in terms of what's the future for youth like myself in Africa. So I think in my side, it'll be the future is very promising for sure. And in my space, I totally believe that the future is going to be solar energy. Although solar in the past decade, solar has taken off, you'll be surprised. People like in Africa are still under the same preconditions of energy poverty. There's a lot of energy poverty in Africa. And although we might be having electricity, we might be having all these other sources, I think there's still room to really democratize solar energy. Because solar energy, as you know, energy is like the center of all the sectors. Energy is like the center of all sectors. Yes. So I believe like there's a lot of opportunities in solar, in energy, from all sectors across. And I believe like we're really looking for a future where solar energy can be really affordable and efficient and versatile. Maybe in the future we might be wearing summer jackets, which are solar smart jackets. So I think there's opportunities to leverage on solar energy in a very smart way, which can be really advance the energy needs. So what I can encourage people out there who are interested in energy, there's a lot of opportunity in energy. And I think solar seems to be like the next frontier, from technologies around the solar cells innovation to the solar storage, because that's another gap we have. We are unable to store energy. So if in the near future, people can come up with innovations and how we can store solar energy, and that's really can be groundbreaking for the entire energy sphere. And then in terms of inspiration, I think two things. For me, I think I was lucky to find an inspiration earlier. As I mentioned, when we were doing these charity events, so those small steps were quite satisfying, if you mean. We felt fulfilled in the small space. So I think for us, or for me, when we were doing these events, we were really doing these for fun and trying to change someone, to make a difference. So and this really grew up, became addictive and grew up. So I think the only advice I can give out there is right now, all of us are struggling of how can I reach X number of people? How can I achieve this impact? Climate change, the CO2, there's a really big SDG scale, which is quite scary. You feel like you're lost, you're insignificant in this process, and that's okay. But what if you come just down to your home, to your school, to your neighbor, and yourself? How many people can I reach in my neighbors? Can I reach 2 or 3 people, 10 people, 10 households? Can I change? Can I really have like a clear impact on these people? Even if it's 1 or schools, is it like a clear measurable impact? Then you are really doing great, because right now most of us have this burden of saying, how can I reach 1,000, 1,000,000 people, 1,000 customers? And then we forget the basics. We forgot the basics, and the basics can remind you, can go back to your first client, or your first encounter, or you can ask yourself, why did I begin this business?
Yeah.
So it's very simple, just to ensure like my neighbor, my community, and my home can access energy. Are they doing that? If yes, okay, what are the changes happening to this home? Are they able to have better experience in terms of cooking? Is there reduced emissions? Are they at least having a better environment in terms of health because of reduced emissions? If you find your answers to be saying yes, this should be gratifying to yourself and confirming to you, hey, you know what? I'm making a change in my small space. So I think as much as it's good for us to have a bigger picture, big global picture, I think it's also good for us to begin from a micro focus, be myopic, like focus ourselves on the ground to allow us really see and create the impact. And after that, this will allow us to connect with the impact. As much as you want to create this impact, you also need the connection. Because if you don't have this connection, you're unable to track this impact. You're unable to grow and keep on scaling this impact for these communities. I think for me, I'll maybe really think it's always good for all of us to also go back to where it all began. Even if you're the biggest corporate there, or wherever stage you are in your business, or you want to begin your business, go back to your inner self and ask yourself, myself and Justin or Jacob, why do I do this? Why do I wake up each and every day morning to do this? Why is it important to me? And then the last question you ask yourself, what do I want to see? What change do I want to see? This subject is important to me. And I think that keeps on igniting your inner self, your inner fire. And that's, for me, has been my motivation. The more you ask myself this question, it's like I try to connect deeper, because as you mentioned, there's a lot of challenges in running a business or entrepreneurship. It's a lonely journey. You mentioned that. But how do you keep on motivating yourself when there's no sales, when you have no capital, when you have no client, when you have no product, but you have this fire, when I do change? Yep. So I think by just doing self-reaffirming yourself, connecting yourself to your goal, and to the why. So long story short, if all of us can find our whys, I think then we'll be having the necessary energy to make the change required. So let's find out why.
I feel like I attended like Obama program or something. That was good. That was incredible. Thank you so much. I think I 100% co-sign. And I would just have to say you have a balance of practicality and just the right strike of optimism. And I don't know whether it's your sector, because your sector you have to be very applicable and practical. But there's just this right balance, and it's very clear in just your thought process. And I think you have so much to offer to the world beyond beyond building entrepreneur. So I can say I'm excited to meet you, and I think there's a lot that you were gonna achieve.
Maybe just somebody's wondering how to get this balance. It's time is involved, and I think the more you, like for myself, I think 6 years ago I wasn't this much connected, much enthusiastic. I was just like curious and excited about, hey, I have an idea. But I think the more you enter the space, and the more you keep on asking yourself, what's the mission? Because the why goes down to the mission, the vision, who am I as a person, my values. So the moment you keep on asking yourself the why, each and every time, the more you try to connect, try to have that balance, Jacob. So it's time frame, and the more you keep doing it, the more it's course time. So don't feel like, hey, I don't know the why, I'm just new. So you keep on doing it until you find yourself like you're really centered, and that also allows you dictate how you run your business. Because the why really defines who you are as a person. This will depend on which kind of people you hire, what kind of cultures do you bring to the work, how do you treat your customers. It always comes back to the why, Jacob. You cannot go on, Jacob.
100%, I agree with you. I think this can be another episode. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. So good. Justine, thank you so much for making the time to be here. I really love what you do. Just love everything about your thought process, how you think of all these big challenging questions, sometimes very daunting questions, sometimes life existential crisis questions. But people like you make us feel a lot better that the world is gonna be, there's hope. And I appreciate the fact that you can continue to do what you're doing. And I have to come visit, just how amazing that place looks.
Please. Free nyama choma. We're about to call nyama choma the local delicacy. Yes. So please come. Lots of fun, Nairobi.
Awesome.
Lots of network. There's a good entrepreneurship or startup ecosystem in Nairobi, from hubs to fintech to anything. So it's also a good space for also business-wise to just get in touch and feel the community. So yeah, you're welcome.
You mean me and I and our listeners will pack our stuff and go to Nairobi?
Yes, please. Nairobi is a good place to be in all opportunities, from touring to the beaches, the people, the food, and even the entrepreneurship ecosystem is really something really you might want to just see and connect.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much, and thanks for promoting Kenya on the. No, thank you so much, Justine Abuga. Continue to do what you're doing. And to all our listeners, it's Justine. He's also a Builders of Africa's Future cohort member for 2022. And as you guys can hear, just inspiring. You gave me this a dose of coffee. I don't need coffee anymore. You just gave me. So thank you.
I'm happy I'm able to do that. And yeah, to anybody who's out there listening, and yeah, once you find your purpose, I think the rest things will just align.
Awesome.
So keep searching. As Steve Jobs said, keep searching. You'll know when you find it. So keep searching.
Awesome. That's a great way to end the episode. Thanks again, Justine.
Thank you so much, Jacob, for hosting me.